Let's see how Google OAuth scopes are used within Konnectify. Konnectify is a secure integration and automation platform. It connects Google Workspace applications such as Google Sheets, Google Drive, Gmail, Docs, Slides, and Forms with external business systems like CRM platforms and healthcare applications. Using Google OAuth, Konnectify enables secure and permission-based workflow automation across communication, collaboration, and cross-platform business operations. This allows users to securely connect applications and automate business workflows efficiently.
The next Google application is Google Slides. For Google Slides, Konnectify primarily uses two scopes: Google Slides Presentation Scope and Google Drive Scope. Presentation scopes enable CRUD operations for presentation files, including creating, updating, deleting, and retrieving presentations. Drive scopes are used for managing file storage, access, and file organization within Google Drive. Together, these scopes allow secure management, storage, and automation of presentation-related workflows within Konnectify. Next, we will review how Google Slides scopes are utilized within Konnectify. To understand this, we begin by creating a Google Slides connection within the platform. Within the OAuth consent screen, all required scopes are clearly presented to the user. As previously outlined, Konnectify uses two primary scopes for Google Slides: the Google Slides Presentation Scope and the Google Drive Scope. Once the user grants authorization, the connection is successfully established. These authorized scopes are then applied within Konnectify workflows.
Let's see how the Google OAuth connection has been used in Google Slides. For the Google Slides workflow, we have already configured a workflow. The workflow is triggered based on a webhook. After that, we have an action called Create Presentation from Template. This action creates a new presentation from the selected template. For all these actions, we are using the Google Slides Presentation Scope. Next, we have an action to find the presentation based on the presentation ID and the presentation name. Here, we are using the Google Drive Scope to find the location of that presentation. After that, we have an action for refreshing the Google Sheets chart. Workflow is working and what impact it creates in the user account. For this, we have opened the user account in the side panel. To trigger the workflow, we will hit the catch hook. After hitting the catch hook, we will see a trigger call here. Now, in the event logs, you can see that the Google Slides workflow is executing. A new workflow execution has been created. Let's see the workflow execution result. The workflow was successfully executed. For this action, a presentation was created from the template. Here, you can see that the presentation named Sales Pitch ACM ACROP has been created. You can also see the same presentation name here, Sales Pitch ACM ACROP. After this action, we will find the presentation. Then, there is only one chart, so the chart count is shown here. This is how Google Slides is being used, and how the Google OAuth connection and scopes are being utilized. These are the impacts created by this workflow.
The next application is Google Docs. Similar to Google Slides, Konnectify uses two primary scopes: Google Docs Document Scope and Google Drive Scope. The Google Docs scope provides direct document management capabilities, while Google Drive Scope supports file management operations. Document-based scopes are used for actions such as creating documents, updating documents, deleting documents, retrieving document lists, and editing document content. Google Drive scopes are used for managing document storage, folder access, and drive-based file organization. Next, we create a Google Docs connection. During the OAuth process, the required scopes are presented to the user. The document-based scope grants access to Google Docs resources, while the Google Drive scope enables drive and folder management. Once the user grants authorization, the connection is established successfully.
Let's see how the Google Docs connection is used inside the Konnectify workflow. For this, we have already configured a workflow based on Google Docs. The trigger for this workflow is a catch hook. Then, we have an action called Create Document from Template. For this action, we have provided the template ID, the document name, and the field input values. After that, we are going to append text to the document that was created. For this, we have mapped the document ID generated from the previous action. After that, we have another action to find a document. Other than this, Konnectify also supports more Google Docs actions, such as creating a document from text, appending text to a document, finding and replacing text, formatting text, and more. For all these kinds of actions, we are using the Google Docs scope. Then, the Google Drive scope is used for finding the location of the Google Docs file, as shown here while selecting the folder in which the document is located. Now, let's see how the workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For this, we will open the user account in the side panel. Now, we will trigger the workflow by hitting this webhook. Once the workflow is triggered, you can see the execution of the workflow. You can also see that a new document is created based on the selected template. Let's open the document and also review the execution flow. For this action, a document will be created from the template with the title Meeting Notes Queue to Planning. Here also, you can see that the document named Meeting Notes Queue to Planning has been created. After that, we have the action called Append Text to Document. For the Append Text action, we have provided inputs such as action items, updates, and other details. Here, you can see that the action items have been added to the document. Then, this action is used for finding the document. For all these actions, we are using both the Google Docs scope and the Google Drive scope. This is how the workflow creates an impact inside the user's account.
This ensures full utilization of available Google Docs actions for comprehensive workflow automation. The next application is Google Drive. For Google Drive, Konnectify uses a single Google Drive scope to manage all file and folder operations securely. This scope enables essential file management capabilities, such as creating folders, updating folders, deleting folders, uploading files, managing existing files, and organizing resources within Google Drive. These permissions allow businesses to streamline document storage, file organization, and workflow automation directly within Google Drive. This demonstrates how Google Drive scopes are utilized within the Konnectify platform. The first step is establishing a secure Google Drive connection through OAuth authorization. Within the OAuth consent screen, Konnectify requests only the necessary Google Drive scope required for accessing and managing Google Drive resources. Once the user grants authorization, the Google Drive connection is created successfully.
Let's see how Google OAuth scopes are being used inside the Google Drive workflow. For this, we have already configured a workflow. The workflow is triggered using a catch hook. When the catch hook is triggered, it receives the following details: project ID, closure date, project name, hardship reason. After receiving the data, the workflow executes a Google Drive action called Find Folder. Using the project ID received from the catch hook, the workflow searches for the corresponding folder in Google Drive. Once the folder is found, the next step is to create a new folder inside the identified parent folder. The folder name is dynamically generated using the project name and closure date received from the catch hook. We also provide the parent folder ID, so the new folder is created in the correct location. Additional details, such as description and metadata, are also configured during folder creation. After the folder is successfully created, the workflow uploads a file into the newly created folder. There are two supported methods for uploading files: using a file URL using base64 content. In this example, we are uploading the file using a file URL. For the upload action, we provide file URL, file name, folder ID. The folder ID is mapped dynamically from the previous Create Folder action. Once the file upload is completed, the workflow shares the created folder with the required users. Now, let's see how this workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For this demonstration, we first create a user account in the Site tab. This is the user account connected with Google Drive. To trigger the workflow, we send data to the catch hook. As soon as the webhook is triggered, you can see in the event log that the Google Drive workflow starts executing. Here, you can see that the folder has been created successfully. The folder has been shared successfully. A file named Meeting Notes has been uploaded inside the folder. Now, let's verify each workflow action step by step. The Find Folder action searches for the required Google Drive folder and returns all folder details. Next, the Create Folder action creates a new folder using the input details received from the catch hook. You can see the generated folder name here. The same folder name is also visible inside Google Drive. Inside the created folder, we have uploaded a file named Meeting Notes. For the upload action, we provided the file name, the file URL. If we open the input URL in a new tab, you can see that both files are identical. This confirms that the Konnectify application downloaded the file from the provided URL and uploaded it successfully into the target Google Drive folder. After the upload process, the workflow shares the folder with the configured users. For example, we provided an email address such as manager@gmail.com. The folder has now been shared successfully with that account. All workflow actions have been executed successfully. This is how the Google Drive workflow creates an impact inside the user's account using Konnectify.
The next application we are going to see is Google Mail. Google Mail uses the scope mail.google.com. This scope has been mapped into multiple actions within the workflow. Let's see how these permissions are mapped. The Mail scope is used for the following actions: read all emails, send emails, modify emails, delete emails permanently, read email attachments. All these actions are performed using the mail.google.com scope. Now, let's see how to create a connection for Google Mail. First, we create a new connection. After selecting the Google account, the OAuth consent screen will be displayed. In the OAuth consent screen, we clearly display all the permissions that are being requested. These permissions include reading emails, composing and sending emails, modifying emails, permanently deleting emails from Gmail. This allows the user to clearly understand what level of access is being requested before authorizing the application. Once the user clicks Allow, the Google Mail connection will be created successfully.
Let's see how Google OAuth scopes are being used inside the Konnectify workflow for Gmail. For this, we have already configured a workflow for Gmail. The workflow is triggered when the catch hook receives data. After the trigger, the workflow is followed by an action called Send Email. The Send Email action contains fields such as the recipient email address, subject of the email, and body of the email. We have provided sufficient data for all the input fields. After that, the workflow creates a draft email for the customer email address. Then, we add labels to the email that was sent, such as important and starred. After that, we search for the email based on the query using the from email address and the subject. Other than this, we also support more Gmail actions such as forwarding an email, replying to an email, removing labels from an email, creating a custom label, deleting an email, getting attachments, archiving emails, creating draft replies, and more. For all these actions, we are using the Google Gmail scopes. Now, let's see how this workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For this, let me open the Gmail customer account in the side panel. This will be the receiver email inbox, and this is the sender's email inbox. To trigger the workflow, we will send data to the catch hook. Once it is triggered, you can see the event logs here. The execution status shows success. You can also see that an email was received from Harish Kumar Natarajan. The email subject is Customer Escalation Alert, and the ticket address is TK90911. You can also verify that the input data was correctly received. This is the input we provided as the email body and the email subject. Next, we have an action for creating a draft email. To verify that this action was successfully executed, we will check the sender's email account. Here, a draft email was created for customer@acmacrop.com. The ACMA crop draft email was successfully created. After that, we have another action for adding labels to the email. To verify this, we will check the starred section. We can clearly see that the email sent at 17:08 is marked as starred. We have also added the label as important. You can also see that the email is listed here. This is how the workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For all these actions, we are using the Google OAuth scopes for Gmail.
The next application is Google Calendar. For Google Calendar, Konnectify uses a dedicated Google Calendar scope to access and manage calendar resources. Calendar scopes are mapped to actions such as creating events, editing events, deleting events, and retrieving event details. Next, we review how a Google Calendar connection is created. Within the OAuth consent screen, Konnectify requests Google Calendar permissions for viewing, editing, sharing, and deleting accessible calendars. This permission model ensures that calendar operations remain secure while enabling advanced scheduling automation. Once the user grants authorization, the Google Calendar connection is established successfully. These permissions are then applied within workflow actions and triggers.
Let's see how Google Calendar scopes are being used inside the Konnectify workflow. For this, we have already configured a workflow. The trigger for this workflow is a catch hook. The catch hook will trigger whenever it receives data. After that, the workflow is followed by an action called Create Detailed Event. For creating the detailed event, we provide all the necessary details such as the summary, start date, time zone, description, and attendee email addresses. After that, the workflow is followed by an action called List Events. This action will list all the events available in the user's calendar. Then we have another action called Update Event. For updating the event, we require the event ID. For the event ID, we will pass the ID of the event that was created in the previous action. This action will update the event summary and description as confirmed with a green checkmark. For all these actions, we are using the Google Calendar scopes. Now, let's see how these actions create an impact inside the user's account. For this, let's open the user account in the side panel. To trigger the workflow, we will hit the catch hook. After hitting the catch hook, we can see the execution logs here. The workflow execution is now in progress. You can clearly notice that an event has been added to the calendar through the workflow. Now, let's get into the workflow execution details. First, it creates an event called Quarterly Planning Session. Here, you can see that the event was successfully created. After that, the workflow lists all the calendar events. Then, it updates the created event. This is how the Google Calendar workflow creates an impact inside the user's account by creating and scheduling events. For all these actions, we are using the Google Calendar scopes.
The next major application is Google Sheets. Similar to Google Docs and Google Slides, Konnectify uses two primary scopes: Google Sheets Spreadsheet Scope and Google Drive Scope. Spreadsheet scopes are used for spreadsheet creation, editing, deletion, and worksheet management, while Google Drive scopes handle storage and file organization. This architecture provides both operational efficiency and secure data governance. During connection creation, users authorize Google Drive scopes for file access and Google Sheet scopes for spreadsheet operations, such as creating, editing, updating, and deleting spreadsheets. Once authorization is granted, the connection is established successfully.
Let's see how the Google OAuth connection is used inside the Google Sheets workflow. For this, we have already configured a workflow. This workflow is triggered when the catch hook receives data. After that, we have an action called Find Row by Unique Field. This action finds a row based on a given unique field value in a column. Then, we have another action for adding a row to Google Sheets. This action adds a new row into the Google Sheet. For this action, we have selected the spreadsheet named Attendance and the worksheet named Sheet 1. We have already mapped the fields such as first name, last name, phone number, email address, and other details. After that, we have an action called Upsert Row. The Upsert Row action means the workflow will update an existing row if the value already exists, or insert a new row if it does not exist. For all these actions, we are using the Google Sheets scope. To find the location of the spreadsheet document, we are using the Google Drive scope. Other than this, Konnectify also supports more Google Sheets actions, such as creating a spreadsheet, creating a worksheet, finding multiple rows by unique field, deleting worksheets, deleting rows, and more. For all these actions, we are using the Google Sheets scopes. Now, let's see how the workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For this, we will open Google Sheets in the side panel. Here, the attendance sheet has been selected for inserting the row. To trigger the workflow, we will hit the catch hook by clicking Send. After clicking Send, you can see that a change has occurred here. You can also see that the Google Sheets actions were executed successfully. Now, let's explore the execution logs. First, the Find Row by Unique Field action is automatically executed. Then, the Add Row action is executed. The input data for the added row contains the date as May 20th, 2026. The row was successfully added. The email address johndoe@company.com was also added successfully. After that, the phone number field was processed. Since the value was treated as an expression instead of a plain string, the formatting was automatically adjusted. You can see the phone number value updated here as +1555101. After that, the first name was added as Kumar. Then, another row was created with the first name, Harish. Later, the value Harish was updated to HK because of the Upsert Row action. In the earlier step, you can clearly see that the row was first created with the value Harish, and only after that it was updated to HK. This is how the Google Sheets workflow creates an impact inside the user's account. For all these actions, we are using the Google Sheets scopes.
The next application we are going to review is Google Forms. For Google Forms, Konnectify uses two primary OAuth scopes. The first scope is Google Forms Body Scope, which is used for accessing form structure and form details. Second scope is Google Forms Response Read-Only Scope. Google Forms scopes are primarily used for three major actions. First, retrieving all responses from a specific Google form. Second, retrieving an individual response from a particular form submission. Third, retrieving and managing available Google Forms connected to the authorized user. Next, we will review how to create a Google Forms connection within Konnectify. The first step is creating a secure Google Forms connection through OAuth authentication. Within the OAuth consent screen, Konnectify clearly presents the scopes being requested from the user. The first permission grants access to Google Forms resources. The second permission enables secure retrieval of Google Form responses. Once the user grants authorization, the Google Forms connection is successfully established. Next, we will review how these connections are used within Konnectify workflows.
For this, we have already configured a workflow. The workflow is triggered whenever a Google form receives a new response. For this trigger, we have provided the form ID. After the trigger, we have an action called Get Form Response. From the trigger response, we will populate the response ID into this action. This action returns the complete form response details in a stringified format. After that, we have another action called Get Form Details. This action returns the details of the selected Google form. Other than this, Konnectify also supports additional actions, such as Get All Form Responses. This action returns all the responses submitted for a particular form. For all these actions, we are using the Google Forms scopes. Now, let's trigger the workflow by submitting a response to this form. For this, we will fill in all the necessary details in the form. After filling in all the details, we will submit the form response. Now, let's wait for the workflow execution logs. Since the Google Forms trigger works as a polling trigger, it may take some time to receive the response. So, we will wait for a few moments. Now, the response has been received successfully. You can see that the new form response was triggered correctly. Here, we provided the issue details as plumbing issue in my cottage. The location was given as plumbing, and the priority details were also submitted properly. After that, this action returns the response data in a stringified format. We can use this stringified data and process it further in other workflow actions. The Get Form Details action returns the complete details of the form in a structured format. For all these actions, we are using the Google Forms scopes. These workflow executions create impacts inside the user workflow and can be integrated with other applications such as CRMS, databases, and more.